My name is Michael Bowman, and I'm going to persuade you that the NFL making bans on illegal hits to the head and neck and possible fines or suspensions is better for the future of the sport. This all started with scientists finding that more damage was being done to the brain than originally thought with concussions. Players started coming forward from the 1950s, 60s, 70s, saying that they were having complications with brain damage, having diseases as they got older, and it really found out that it was contributed to concussions. Ex-football players such as Johnny Unitas, after he died, his wife had talked to reporters and stated that his brain was found to have extreme damage to it, which was thought to be due from the constant hits to the head. So although concussions now might be something you sit out for a couple weeks and you're back, it is being seen that it can cause permanent damage in the future. NFL Players Board was getting on the NFL for them not compensating ex-football players enough for the way they put their body on the line. Every week they go out there and they're taking hits, they're making hard hits, they're getting concussions, they're getting injuries, and ex-football players are sitting there living in trailers, in wheelchairs, and they're still not getting the compensation, the help from the NFL that they need. There have been ex-players that have died, and a lot of ex-players coming forward, they've examined their brains, and they've found that their brains had damage that otherwise should never have been there. And it's among boxers. You look at Muhammad Ali, from all the blows to his head that he's had, and you just start to see the damage that concussions can really cause in the long term. There was a college football player who was severely hit this past season, and they believe that he is going to be paralyzed from the waist down. And this kind of started them looking more into it. And players were being knocked out of the games each week, seeing players being taken out on stretchers, players being violently hit to the head, and players would get up and celebrate about it, which, the fans all like big hits. But when it goes too far and you see a player laying on the field not moving, then it gets serious because you don't know what's wrong with this player. Week by week this season, we've seen players being knocked down and not moving and taking off the field, and you know what? They'll just slap a $20,000 fine on the player, and they're making millions. That's nothing to them. That's just something they pay off. It's just chump change to them. So the NFL thought, you know what? They have to do something about this. So Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL, made a statement saying that from that point forward, there would be substantial fines and possible suspensions for flagrant hits to the head or neck and launching. The league has shown that they're very serious about this, because usually you'd think that the first-time offender might just get a slap on the wrist, a warning, a small fine, but they even came out and said that if you make any hits to the head or neck, it will be an automatic fine and possible suspension depending on the play. And this is a good decision and necessary for the sport, because as a fan, you like the tough hits, but you like to think that, okay, you know what, they're all going to get up from at the end and they're going to be fine. You know what, you like to see the big hits and you like to see them get up and walk away. This wasn't happening. Players were getting knocked down, were getting taken out on stretchers with their heads not moving, just laying there with limp, their arms limp, their hands limp. And at that point, after week after week, after seeing players being taken off on stretchers or laying down the field, not moving for a while, and then finally getting up, it took some of the excitement out of these big hits, because now you're wondering, okay, is this player going to be okay? How are they going to react? Are they going to get up? Are they going to lay on the field? You just didn't know. And I understand there are times when you're running across the field and you get hit, and there's nothing you can do about it. Those hits happen, but when it's intentional and you're throwing your body at someone and you're leading with your head, those are things that can be changed. From a child, from Pee Wee football up, kids are taught the fundamentals that you wrap up around the numbers right at the chest, you wrap up and you bring them to the ground. Launching your body at someone, it'll bring them down sometimes with hard hits, but if you launch your body at someone, sometimes they'll just bounce right off you, and it's bad technique anyways. Too many players are going for the big hits and forgetting the fundamentals that they were taught as a kid and wrapping up and taking him down the right way. They're being selfish to themselves and getting the glory for the big hit rather than playing for the team and wrapping up and getting the guy down, which is something that I think needs to be stopped. By making these precautions, it's making the NFL players think more when they're out there playing. And in the first couple weeks after this rule was implemented, we started to see players were going. They could have launched their bodies at them, but they were going lower. They were making the hits lower. They were wrapping up more. They were going towards the chest. They were making the small adjustments where players normally, in those situations, would have launched their body at, let's say, the neck or the head. You were seeing them go lower and start to wrap up and bring them down to the ground the right way, and it's more effective. So you were seeing players start to, adjust to that slowly. You had, around the league, the thing was you had a mixed reaction. You had players saying that they're trained, it's something that happens so fast that you can't pull up, they were saying that they couldn't do it. They couldn't pull up in the middle of a play, they couldn't pull up and not hit them. But I don't seem to buy that because there's ex-football players who were playing just a couple of years ago who were saying these are extreme athletes. They're training every day. They have the ability to pull up and hit in the chest going that fast. They have the ability to adjust. Adjustment is the main thing here. If you adjust to the new rules, then everything will be fine. You can still make the hits. You can still make big hits. But there's no need to make a hit on someone's head. That's just something that's not needed. And for players to say that they can't do that, I think is ridiculous. And I think that the NFL is right. And if they're hit to the head, the neck, or violent throwing their bodies and launching themselves at someone, I think they should get a suspension. Because, like I said, fines aren't going to do it here because the players are so used, just don't care. And so, my main thing about this is this is better for the sport because players won't be getting injured as much, and the sport can be played the way it was meant to be played, and continue to be America's favorite game. There will be injuries, but all the violent hitting to the neck and head can stop. Players can start to wrap up the way they were taught from the beginning. And you know what? There won't be as much devastation. And you know what? It's better for the sport in the long run. Because if players kept getting hit like this and there was stuff going on, like you don't know what would happen to the future of the sport. So I think this was a necessary measure taking. And it would have happened eventually, so this was the right thing to do. And anybody that doesn't like it, you know what? It's not going to change. And it's something that was meant to happen. And I believe it's better for the future of the game and the safety of the players. And I believe it doesn't change anything about the future of the sport, and it can continue to be America's game.